Good morning again. Thank you so much for joining us in this fantastic location in Dubrovnik, in the Lazaretti. We welcome you most warmly to the Workplace Culture Conference, taking place today and tomorrow and Saturday. And we're so pleased to see you in the room and also online. Welcome to you too. And we would like to thank the sponsors. You will see on the screen on day one, the day one logo that you'll see in a moment. And other than that, we wish you a wonderful day today. So first of all, our first speaker is Mandy Fransz. And Mandy asked me to tell you that she is part Indonesian and part Dutch. She started her business in Bali, and her number one ingredient for happy working is the sun. So she's worked remotely in 45 countries, following the warmth of the sun. To Mandy, thank you very much.
All right. Good morning, everyone, or dobro jutro in Croatian, if my Google translation works correctly. My name is Mandy, and I'm super excited to finally be back in Croatia after 1 year, and to have the honor to open this amazing conference with all of you digital nomads and remote workers today. So to kick off this conference, I'd like to say a massive thank you to Tanya from Saltwater Nomads. Tanya, I'm not sure where you are, in the back. So from Saltwater Nomads, Jan and his team from Digital Nomads Association, Paul Bradbury and his team from Total Croatian News, all the tourist boards, and there's Paul, the tourist boards and the city of Dubrovnik, first of all, for inviting me back to this beautiful country and organizing yet another world-class event, this time in beautiful Dubrovnik. So please join me in giving a massive round of applause for all the organizing parties involved. Are the slides up, Nick?
Just got to loop the sound at the moment. Something changed.
All right.
Just dazzling everyone.
All right. Gonna wait here for a second. I'm very bad in jokes. But maybe on a scale of 1 to 10, how excited is everyone today? For 10, raise your hands. And I'd like to know from all of you, for me it's the first time here in Dubrovnik. I just arrived yesterday, 4 p.m. And I just have to say, the city is absolutely beautiful. So for all of you who is it the first time here in person in Dubrovnik, please raise your hand. Exactly. So very excited to see you today as well at the networking event, and hopefully spot some Game of Thrones dragons. Well, I maybe.
Sorry.
It's okay. Maybe I can start with. So last year I came to Croatia for my very first in-person event after 2 years after the pandemic. And Tanya sent me a message on LinkedIn just a week before the so-called Zagreb Digital Nomad Week. And she asked me if I wanted to become keynote speaker at this now award-winning event, full of inspirational keynotes, inspiring workshops and panel interviews, but most of all, really fun activities with like-minded people from all around the world. And I'm so happy to see familiar faces here in the audience today, and to see virtual friends and industry peers that we met in online, but now finally in person, but also all of you joining virtually in the live stream to meet all of you over the next couple of days on this amazing conference. And that's perfect timing, so I think, thank you so much. So I have a clicker. I didn't have that last year at the Zagreb Digital Nomad Week, so improving every year. But as I mentioned, Tanya sent me this message on LinkedIn about this time last year, saying, "Hey Mandy, do you feel like coming to Croatia for this Zagreb Digital Nomad Week that I'm organizing? Sorry for the last minute message. However, I was sailing in for work. How cool is that, right?" So of course I said yes. And that's the best. And so I had this beautiful experience at the Zagreb Digital Nomad Week, which is now, as I mentioned, an award-winning event. And I'm super excited to go back in just a few weeks and finally visit the #1 place that everyone seems to talk about. the Museum of Broken Relationships. So if you're not familiar with the Museum of Broken Relationships, I highly recommend you to join us in Zagreb in just a few weeks. Now, today, and in the next couple of weeks, I'm honored to be invited as an ambassador for Dubrovnik, in which I'll spend the next couple of weeks to work remotely and experience the digital nomad lifestyle in this beautiful city, and to hopefully take the remote work lifestyle in Dubrovnik and Croatia to the next level, as I truly believe that this city has the potential to become one of the most popular remote work destinations worldwide. I'm super honored to meet all of you here in person and virtually, and I really want to emphasize and encourage you to make the most out of the next couple of days, because this is going to be a life-changing experience for you. All right, so for those of you who don't know me yet, maybe I'd like to kick off with a little background story of how I got where I am today. So, as a small-town teenage girl, I've always loved to travel the world and work online and explore different cultures. So about 10 years ago, I used to live in Bangkok, Thailand, for my very first living abroad experience, and I was hooked. I enjoyed $5 massages. In the weekends, I went on beautiful trips to beautiful islands with emerald green waters, like Koh Phi Phi, as you see here on the picture. And of course, I went to university by tuk-tuk. Now, while backpacking through Southeast Asia, I bumped into a book called... Am I big? Called The 4-Hour Workweek. Any of you are familiar with this book? Raise your hand. I can see many of you are. So, while backpacking through Southeast Asia with this book in the pocket of my backpack in one, and The Lonely Planet in the other, and while reading this book, I realized one day I want to become a so-called digital nomad. So I went back to university and I finished my studies in international business administration for my bachelor's degree and marketing management for my master's degree in Rotterdam. And upon graduation, instead of applying for corporate jobs, as most of my, if not all of my fellow students did, instead I decided to go on a 2-month backpacking trip to South America this time. And together with my twin sister, I started a travel blog called The Backpacking Twins. And somehow we wanted to use this blog to figure out how to travel the world and make an income online. However, we had no idea what we were doing and didn't make a single cent. Lucky for me, though, a LinkedIn recruiter reached out to me on LinkedIn for a job opportunity at LinkedIn's European headquarters in Dublin, Ireland. And that's how I started my very first and only full-time job at one of the world's largest tech companies. They had world-class perks and benefits. So we enjoyed free food and gym, a rooftop barista bar, and of course, in-office massage therapist that I gladly used every single week. I had a dream job. However, after 2 years, the office walls started to get down on me, and I was craving for that freedom and flexibility to travel the world again and explore different cultures. It was a call with my mom that made me realize and recall my life motto from many years ago, that you will only regret things you haven't done. And this life motto made me realize that, gave me the courage to quit my corporate job without a solid plan to explore the world of remote work. So, as every aspiring or current digital nomad does, I booked a ticket to Bali to figure out how to make this lifestyle work. So I decided to surround myself with like-minded people by joining a co-working space. This was actually a photo on the left top, a photo of my morning commute. In the meantime, I enjoyed doing yoga sessions in the jungle, working with the rice fields in the background, going to the swimming pool in the middle of the day, and of course, the Instagrammable smoothie bowls that I still make for myself until this day, every single morning. At some point and one day, I met a startup founder in the co-working space who heard about my background story, about working at LinkedIn, and she asked me for advice about how to grow your company on LinkedIn. And we had a coffee chat, and that's how Make the Leap Digital was born. She hired me as a freelance consultant, and within 30 days of quitting my corporate job, I had my very first freelance client more than double the hourly rate back in corporate. So for the first time in my life, I now had the freedom and flexibility to work from anywhere and wherever I felt the happiest and most productive. So I went back to Ireland and I sold all of my belongings, ended my unhappy relationship after 3.5 years. And I moved back to the Netherlands, where I registered my business and moved in with my parents. I was now officially a digital nomad. Thanks, mom and dad. I've been living this lifestyle ever since. So in the past 4 years, I've been able to fulfill my teenage dream, driving the Highway 1 in California with one of my best friends. I crossed off bucket list items by learning how to dance salsa and speak Spanish in Colombia. And just a couple of months ago, I was working remotely in rural France in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by nothing but nature. And in the last couple of weeks, I've spent working, living, and traveling around beautiful Portugal, waking up in the morning from a camper van with an amazing view while working during the day, doing client calls with our high-speed Wi-Fi, and in the afternoon doing surfing classes. So in the past 4 years, by now I've traveled to 45 plus countries. I lost count by now, so I hope to hit the 100, as I know some of the people in the audience have. And I built an online community of more than 25,000 followers on LinkedIn and Instagram. And I manage a group on LinkedIn called Remote Workers on LinkedIn with more than 75,000 people by now. In the last few years, I'm honored to have been featured in lists such as, or international publications such as the Thrive Global, the LinkedIn Top Voices for Remote Work, including 2 of my peers who are here in the audience with me, who are also featured on this list, and in the Remote Work Influencer Reports, just below Tim Ferriss, the author of the 4-Hour Workweek. Now with Make the Leap Digital, my current company, I help both individuals and businesses to build their personal brand and grow their business on LinkedIn and beyond through one-on-one consulting, interactive workshops, and international keynote speeches, and all mainly from the comfort of my laptop. However, it's not all rainbows and butterflies. I felt lonely. I've experienced Zoom fatigue, and I soon discovered that the 4-hour work week is a myth. I'm still a fan of Tim Ferriss. According to a recent Buffer report in 2022, the state of remote work, although 31% of respondents say they don't have any challenges while working remotely, 25% of them mentioned that not being able to unplug, and 24% mentioned loneliness are some of the top challenges while working remotely. However, an impressive 97%, despite the challenges, still wants to work remotely for at least some part of the time for the rest of their career. Here's why. 67% of respondents of the same report mentioned that flexibility in how I spend my time, and 62% says flexibility to choose my work location, and last but not least, I have more time because I don't commute, are some of the top challenges why people still keep working remotely until today, and it's only increasing from here. Darren Murph, who is the head of remote at GitLab, mentions in one of my Rise of Remote Work newsletters that I launched at the start of the pandemic to share insights and lessons learned from remote work industry leaders, experts, and advocates. He mentions COVID-19 has accelerated the global embrace of remote work by 10 years. There's no placing this genie back in its bottle. It will result in millions of people having new freedom to live and work where they're most fulfilled. By now, I am settled back in Rotterdam, in the Netherlands, and I still love to have this freedom and flexibility to work from anywhere. So I don't consider myself a full-time digital nomad, but I truly believe that remote work is not just about travel; it's about freedom. So whether you consider yourself a remote worker or a digital nomad, part-time digital nomad, full-time digital nomad, here's 3 main lessons that I learned about how to work remotely and travel the world as a part-time or full-time digital nomad. Number 1. Number 1 is a question when I just joined LinkedIn. After a couple of weeks, my manager at the time asked me, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Now, while most of my colleagues at the time had a clear vision of climbing the corporate ladder, I was not aspiring a career in sales. So I had no clue. So I went back home to sleep about it for a night. And that's when it hit me. I wanted to become an online entrepreneur. So I went back into the office the next day, both excited and also a bit nervous, to tell my manager about my 5-year vision. Luckily, he was very supportive of me, and he helped me outline a so-called 5-year vision pyramid. You can see a photo of what that looked like here, very high level. And this, as you can see here, at the top of this 5-year vision pyramid, we wrote down online entrepreneur. And we mapped out a high-level overview of how to reach that northern star. As you can see, we mapped out a couple of skills, working abroad experience, online, travel, and more. So having this northern star in mind gave me the courage to quit my job 4 years ago now, and to pursue my vision to work remotely and start my own online business. So I'd like to share with you 3 questions to ask yourself that may help you as well to outline your 5-year vision pyramid. Number 1 is, what are you excited or passionate about? Now, this might be a cheesy question, but really think about what it is that you wake up doing every single day and you would love to do for the rest of your life. For me, for example, this was travel, building new things, coming up with new ideas, and that's how I came to online entrepreneur. Maybe for you, it's different. Maybe you love to work with a team. You want to work for a dream company. You love to live in a different country. So think about what it is that you're truly excited about and write it down. Second is, what are your core values? For me, being crystal clear about my core values, which among others are adventure, personal growth, and exploration. That made me realize that I didn't want to be stuck in a 9-to-5 office job in rainy Dublin. So think about, and there's many lists you can Google online with lists of how to identify your core values, but make sure that your Northern Star is aligned with your core values so you can work towards that long-term vision and Northern Star. And last but not least, who and what do you need to get there? So for me, wanting to become an online entrepreneur, I knew that at some point I needed to have experience working for myself, maybe as a freelancer to start with, which was actually my first client. And after that, I soon ventured into online entrepreneurship. But maybe it's also hiring people to help you with the skills you currently don't have, or building the skills yourself. So when I went to Bali and worked from a co-working space, I didn't have a job, I didn't have a business, I was just working on my skills that helped me to get to that Northern Star. So think about what it is for you. What or who do you need to get there faster? Now, I'd like you to remember that remote work is not a marathon. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. Rome was built in a day. So keep your, I highly like to challenge you and encourage you to map out your 5-year vision so you're crystal clear of your Northern Star, so you can keep on working towards your long-term vision and keep that on top of mind. All right. And then when I left my office job and walked out of the office 4 years ago now, I promised the world to share my story of how to make the leap from corporate to exploring the world of remote work. I started an Instagram account called Make the Leap. And on LinkedIn, I started a newsletter, The Rise of Remote Work, to share my story. a LinkedIn news editor picked up my story and he asked me to manage this small community on LinkedIn called Digital Nomads on LinkedIn at the time. We were a little over 2,000 members, and since joining in 2019, we exploded to currently more than 77,000 people from all over the world, and is now known as one of the fastest growing and most engaging groups on LinkedIn. So through this group and by actively building my personal brand and my network on this powerful platform, I attracted new clients, new business partners, speaking engagements, but most of all, a like-minded community and new virtual friends from all over the world. So here are one key thing that I learned while building my brand on LinkedIn is that in today's remote work era, building your online personal brand is more important than ever before. So here are now the 3 lessons to help you get started today. Number 1 is that your profile is not a resume. So how I like to see LinkedIn is like a big online networking conference with more than 810 million people from all around the world. So your profile is basically the foundation of your personal brand and your powerful online business card that can help you to attract the right business opportunities and remote opportunities for you, whether you're looking for clients as a freelancer or online business owner, or a remote job, or maybe remote workers as a remote destination. So invest time in building your profile and really showcasing your unique, authentic, personal brand. Number 2 is relationships matter. So by growing my online network actively on LinkedIn, as I mentioned before, I've met many clients, business partners, but most of all, virtual friends and a like-minded community from all over the world. So I really would like to encourage you to really invest time in building your online network on this powerful platform and start conversations to really build those authentic relationships. And last but not least, be visible. Now, same as here, that we're here in Dubrovnik on an in-person conference, imagine you be standing at the back of the room with your beautiful business card stored in your pocket. Nobody will ever notice you. So same on LinkedIn. See it as this big online networking party and make sure to show up and share your story and be visible so that you can also attract the right people to you and build your network with the right people. Now again, I'd like to challenge you to connect with everyone you meet on this conference in the next couple of days, whether you're joining here in person or virtually, because I really believe that your next remote opportunity, again, whether you're a freelancer, a business owner, entrepreneur, job seeker, or a destination, it might be only one connection away. All right, I'd like to do a little test. Who of you in this room, unfortunately I can't see, maybe you can, if you're joining virtually, you can mention in the chat, who considers him or herself as a remote worker? Please raise your hand. I think about half of the room, more than half maybe, 7 online. And who of you considers themselves a digital nomad? Please raise your hand. That's definitely less than the remote workers. More online, I hear. So even I and a lot of people don't really know the difference. But now also in the last 2 years, with where the whole world was forced into the world's largest remote working experiment, the terms remote work and digital nomad have been blended. And I remember about 2 years ago, at the start of the pandemic, a friend of mine working at Google reached out to me asking, Mandy, what is the definition of remote work? Turns out even Google didn't know. So I decided to create my own definition of remote work, which is that I believe that remote work is having the freedom and flexibility to work from wherever you feel the happiest and most productive. Whether that's from home, a co-working space, or a cafe, the choice should be yours to make. So freedom, again, is the common ingredient of both digital nomads and remote workers. So I definitely believe that working from beautiful locations, such as Croatia, is on top of the list for many of you. So here's a website that I love to use to plan my next workation, as I love to call it, workation or remote trip. So here it's called nomadlist.com, and it's a community of more than 63,000 people living all around the world, and it ranks the top remote work destinations worldwide. As you can see here, this is a recent screenshot of just a few days ago. It's Lisbon, Austin, Budapest, Canary Islands, and Belgrade at the moment. Now, I'd like to share with you a few tips to picking your next remote destination. Number one is slow travel. So as a starting digital nomad, I think everyone wants to explore as much as possible and tick off the 100 countries that some of you did in this audience. But I soon realized that it's not about ticking off the travel bucket list. It's about really experiencing the destination where you're at. And with more and more countries offering a digital nomad visa, also here in Croatia and also other countries such as Portugal and most recently Italy, for example, they really give you the opportunity to experience the country and the culture in a unique way. So really make sure to leverage this opportunity and travel slow. Second, and I actually added this last night, minimalist lifestyle. Fun story, last night, not so fun actually, but yesterday my hand luggage got stolen in London, or it got lost, I don't know how. And that reminded me, because I was actually wearing a lot of stuff with me. I have a very big suitcase as I've been traveling in Portugal for the last few weeks. And now I'm in Croatia for the next 2 months. I have a big suitcase with me and then a smaller suitcase. The smaller suitcase now is not there anymore. So all of my shoes were gone. I'm happy, thanks to my friends, that I could borrow some shoes from her. But it reminded me to live a minimalist lifestyle. And that's what most digital nomads do as well. But also for you as a destination, maybe, remember, digital nomads don't ask for a lot. We don't want fancy hotels or restaurants, or we ask for a lot of fancy stuff. What we really want is to learn about the culture, learn about the people, and maybe high-speed Wi-Fi. Now, last but not least, is remember one of the top challenges of remote workers is loneliness. So one of the key ingredients when picking your remote destination, and for remote destinations to invest in, is building a like-minded community. Just 2 days ago, I was in Portugal, working remotely from Selena, a beautiful co-working space, full of like-minded people. And I decided to organize a meetup for aspiring or current entrepreneurs, freelancers, and business owners. And I didn't do promotion very well, as I was very busy. However, there were 10 people that showed up during that meetup, and we had lunch even longer than planned. And now we have a WhatsApp group. They go for drinks, and tonight they're going for a board game event. And they really told me that they were craving for this freedom, or for this community and connection with each other. So I highly encourage you, again, when you go and visit your next remote destination, to find this like-minded community. And if it's not there, be active and build it. And then pass the torch to the next person to organize the next event. So I'm here now in Dubrovnik. And for the next couple of weeks, my goal is to take the remote work lifestyle here to the next level. So hopefully by this time next year, when I hopefully return to this conference, I can announce that Dubrovnik made it to the top of the list. So I'd like to end with this question again. Where do you see yourself 5 years from now? Whether you're a current digital nomad, remote worker, or remote destination, think about what it is that you see yourself in 5 years and write it down. Read it every single day, visualize it, and maybe you'll be here telling your story in 5 years on this stage. That's it for me for now. So thank you so much. I see my picture is not working, unfortunately. It's a QR code, which works well too. But feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, Mandy Fransz, or follow me on Instagram, Make the Leap. And I really look forward to meeting all of you here in person over the next couple of days. And firstly, as well, feel free to reach out to me. And if you have any questions, please let me know.